and the president-elect exchanged pleasantries before departing the Defense House. And it appears things are now in top gear. The nation's capital is gradually getting into the mood of the transition period as some of the events to mark the inauguration of Monday and the rites have begun. As I speak in the nation's capital, Abuja, a regimental dinner is being hosted in honor of President Muhammadu Buhari, who have served out 2 terms of 8 years by Monday next week. We'll be getting to get some live update from our correspondent who is live on the ground for us. Just as much as we're getting, we will be getting some live pictures from there in a moment. We'll take you to that venue when we're ready. So much to talk about tonight on the program, just as always. There's a lot happening. How far has the Buhari government performed in the area of workers' welfare? Yes, the minimum wage was raised, but what about inflation? What about the plight of workers, the resident doctors, the ASU? A lot of unions under this government have gone on strike, industrial action, series of protests. How do you as a Nigerian assess the Buhari government in relation to labor, the plight of workers in this country? We'll be getting some insight from the president of the NLC, and also he will be able to give us some insight as well on the situation in the Labour Party. There seems to be some leadership tussle in that party. We'll be speaking to him just in a moment, but we need to serve you first your political roundup stories, trying to check up what is happening around the country.
The Presidential Election Petition Court has consolidated the 3 petitions filed by presidential candidates of the Labour Party, People's Democratic Party, and the Allied People's Movement and their parties, challenging the outcome of the last election. The 5-man panel of justices led by Justice Haruna Samani says the consolidation is aimed at speedy hearing of the petitions and predicated on the grounds that the issues raised by the parties are similar. These were their views while representing the pre-hearing report in Abuja. Civil society groups are demanding accountability in the nation's electoral process. The coalition under the Joint Body Movement stated this during the launch of a research report on political accountability and elections in Abuja. The report indicates that Nigerians have lost confidence in the electoral system, especially after the 2023 general elections. A group of civil society organizations are asking the leadership of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, to come clean on the issues surrounding the NYSC certificate of the governor-elect of Enugu State, Mr. Peter Mba. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja, the leader of the group accused the NYSC of playing to the gallery and maintains that the NYSC should be able to authenticate the NYSC certificate submitted by the governor through its serial number, as they warned the scheme against allowing itself to be used by political jobbers who want to truncate Mr. Mba's inauguration on May the 29th.
The NYSC is playing to the gallery by acting under the whim and caprices of some vested interests that wish to truncate the smooth transition of power in Enugu State.
The National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, loyal to the APAPA-led group, has alleged that the presidential candidate and national chairman of the Labour Party are allegedly in possession of unremitted election funds to the tune of 12 billion naira and $15 million, respectively. Speaking at a news conference in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, Mr. Arabambi says the money originally meant to build the party as well as enhance the structures across the country is the major cause of the crisis that has bedeviled the party in recent times.
Nobody is asking us that you come and give us money. But what we are saying is this: what we have agreed in our next meeting, what we have agreed in our WC meeting was to get a functional secretariat to build our structure at the ward, local government and state.
The candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2022 governorship election in Ekiti State says he has no plans to defect from the party, despite publicly aligning with the administration of Governor Biodun Oyebanji. Mr. Kolawole, who was cited at the governor's office in Ado Ekiti, the Ekiti State capital, justified the visit as being within his right as a friend to the governor, saying the governor has been able to impress him so far with his performances.
We have always been very friendly. We've had a relationship spanning about 20 years, so there's nothing strange in me being here today. So it's not about the campaign, no, I have no intention to no intention to do that.
And a group under the aegis of Coalition of Southeast Youth Leaders are calling on the national leadership of the All Progressives Congress to rezone the seat of the Senate President to the Southeast for fairness, justice, and equity. The group at a news conference in Owerri, the Imo State capital, berated another group for supporting the move by the APC to pacify the Igbos with the position of the Deputy Speaker. They maintain that it is an affront on the Igbos to give the Igbo the 7th position in the country when nobody from the region has been in the principal positions of the 9th Assembly or the APC-led federal government.
In the history of Nigeria, the Igbo have never been consigned nor relegated to irrelevance as is being done now, and it beats our imagination that some faceless group will accept this for pecuniary gains.
Thank you so much, everyone. There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. Let's get to it, everyone. Our very first major conversation for tonight. The last 8 years of the Buhari administration has seen series of strike actions, months of boycott by different unions away from work over disagreements with the government on wage and emoluments and environment of work. I mean, they are always asking for a conducive environment to work. Tonight, we shall be speaking with the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajaero, who is live with us in Abuja here virtually. We'll also be getting some insight from him on the issue of the Labour Party and what is happening, because the NLC and the TUC are also part of the structure of the Labour Party since it was registered. Thank you so much, Comrade Ajaero, for your time tonight. Let's get the conversation started. Just 2 days ago or thereabout, yesterday, we had the news of the resident doctors, the National Association of Nigerian Resident Doctors, signed a memorandum of understanding with the federal government to end the ongoing strike. They had declared a 5-day warning strike. And I know that recently the NLC also declared warning strike, which you called off at some point. But if you look at the Buhari government in this last 8 years, first and foremost, comrade, how would you describe the handling of labor matters in the last 8 years under the Buhari government?
Thank you very much and good evening. That's a very nice question and the best way to start this assessment. The Buhari administration, I think they tried their best in ensuring that there is industrial peace and harmony to the best of their capacity and capability. But that capability wasn't enough. As most of the industrial disputes they treated, we are unfinished. Now, you are talking about a doctor's strike and an agreement that was signed. That agreement signed is not implemented. It's waiting for the coming government. The ASU issue is pending. It's waiting for the incoming government. There's hardly any agreement that was conclusively decided and exhausted. And that's why I pity the incoming administration, because a lot of industrial crises seem to be looming. The ASU strike is there. Recently the government paid.
Nigerian Labour Congress President Joe Ajaero, who is speaking with us virtually. There's been some glitches. Please go ahead, comrade. I see that you're back. You're reconnected.
If some others. So there's already a crisis on who actually earned the 40% salary increase and who didn't earn. So under Buhari administration, the federal government apprehended almost 80% of industrial crises, but didn't resolve them. So when you apprehend an industrial action and fail to resolve it, what happens?
So, this is interesting, actually. The manner in which, as a leader of the Nigerian workers, the manner in which you have assessed them, they've apprehended some of these possible industrial action, but they've not really resolved them. Do you fear that the Tinubu presidency is having some kind of danger waiting in the wings for it?
Well, we are trying to assess the Buhari administration, and then I'm trying to tell you that there will be a spillover effect, on the incoming government, because when you apprehend, it's with an aim that you now resolve the problem. When you apprehend and you fail to resolve it, I can give you an example with what was happening with even the power sector. There was a strike action last year. That action, a government set up a committee. The committee looked into the matter, and now reach a recommendation. As of today, the recommendation is not implemented. Now, if the recommendation is not implemented, the matter, will still continue, there's hardly, the matters resolved, we are not up to 30%. And I pity the incoming government.
So what would you advise the incoming government? Because if all of these issues are not resolved, and there are those who believe that, look, the labor problem in Nigeria or the problem of workers in Nigeria is a reflection of the economy or the situation of the country itself. Now, the Tinubu government will have a lot of things to contend with. The economy is there. The security situation is there. And if you're not careful, they will have on their hands a very huge worker crisis and labor agitation. And if not well managed, can put that government into jeopardy. Or what do you think?
Well, I think that the best way to go is for them to sit down and study the situation. If they understand the situation, it is not intractable. They will handle it one after the other. And it will even do them a lot of good if they bring proper technocrats to handle that sector. The trade unions and their leaders are not unreasonable. If you have a new government that is a listening government and have the right caliber of people to equally address those issues will be resolved. But the major problem, like you said, happen to be the problem of implementation, where even you come into Naira and Kobo, what was agreed 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago are not implemented. The implementability of agreements seem to be at the heart of some of the crises we are having. Check the ASU issue, check resident doctors, check the one in the power sector, check the one in other sectors of the economy. It's just implementation. It is not usually too difficult to reach an agreement, to strike a balance. But respecting the sanctity of such agreement by government side has been a problem. And it doesn't talk good about any government that doesn't obey, that doesn't respect agreements genuinely entered into. An agreement that is not forced on any government is expected that such government should honor it.
So now, there was a minimum wage that was set at 30,000 naira. But since then, the economy, the inflation rate has gone from single digit to double digit and it's been rising like a water vapor. And it doesn't look to me that things are really getting any better in the last 3 years. So the more you earn, a higher a worker earns, it goes to the marketplace and it sees that the price of commodity is high. Invariably, a lot of what it's supposed to spend on himself or herself is gone into inflationary causes. So the question is, what are the plans of the Nigerian Labour Congress in this respect? Inflation on one hand, the condition of service or work on another hand, and also the state of the economy.
Well, it's a mixed grip. Even the 30,000 minimum wage, that was paid, it's not been implemented in some states. That's a part of the problem in Imo. That's part of the problem in Abia. Zamfara, that's part of the problem.
Abiola, if you can hear me, I need shots.
That's part of the problem in Anambra pending. Anambra is not implementing the minimum wage. You take it to Bronu. Bronu is not implementing minimum wage. The same thing with Zamfara. Now, if you have this, the 30,000 are not implemented, and the ones implemented, being rendered even worthless by the inflation, and nobody has been able to check this inflationary rate and trend of it, then it becomes a problem. Yes, we commended the Buhari administration for moving minimum wage from 18,000 to 30,000. Fine and good. Now, have we been able to checkmate a minimum wage where you have a loaf of bread at 1,000 naira, and then if you buy a loaf of bread daily, 30 days you have spent your minimum wage? What does that tell you? So on every side of the economy, and there are no social safety nets. The government doesn't provide hospitals to treat people. Government doesn't provide free education. Government doesn't provide free transportation, no housing. Even the water, you need to generate your own water. You need to buy your own water. Now, how can you even pay school fees with 30,000 minimum wage?
I was going to, come to you to ask you about the fuel subsidy, which is going to be a very major issue that the Bola Tinubu government will have to contend with. But just give me a moment, because I have Emperor Simon live with us at the regiment dinner in honor of President Muhammadu Buhari, part of the transition program that has been put in place in this transition period ahead of the inauguration of May 29, when Muhammadu Buhari will be handing over officially to Bola Tinubu, who will be leading yet another government for another 4 years. In the face of all of the legal fireworks that has been going on at the Presidential Election Tribunal. Emperor Simon, my colleague, is standing by to give us an update on what is going on. Emperor, what can you tell us? What can you see? What is going on? Give us an update. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sean. We're here at the new complex of the Armed Forces Officers' Mess, where officers from the various arms of the Nigerian military, including other agencies of the armed forces, are here. And tonight it looks like it's a moment to unwind after all the years of, battling with insecurity and trying to secure Nigerians. It is time for them to take out some moment and have some form of relaxation. So we have officers here who are colorfully dressed from the Nigerian Army, from the Nigerian Navy, from the Nigerian Air Force, and we also have from the Nigerian Police Force. So this dinner is put together to honor the president for his efforts in the last 8 years towards tackling insecurity. This is a period, the period between 2015 and 2023 has been a challenging one for Mr. President, with, varying insecurity challenges ranging from banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and other, security challenges. So tonight, they've put this together to show their gratitude to the president and to also provide them an opportunity to unwind and to also perhaps hear from Mr. President what with regards to their own efforts in the fight against insurgency.
We'll see what it looks like on the inside. I'm assuming that we're going to find a full complement of the rank and file of the Nigerian military, from the Air Force to the Navy, and in fact to the Nigerian Army. And perhaps something to give, like Emperor is saying there, some claps and praises for some of the top rank and the president on the effort that have been made over the last few years. Emperor Simon there, my colleague, who's been covering that event for us. Thank you so much, Emperor. Please do give us an understanding of whatever is going on if we need to come to you again. Thank you so much indeed for your time, Emperor Simon. Let's get back to my guest on the program, the NLC president, Mr. Joe Ajaero. Before I get you to comment on the Labour Party leadership issue, the subsidy matter is going to be a very tough chew. No leader will find himself or herself in an easy position dealing with this subsidy matter. But from your own point of view and from the workers' point of view, what would you say would be the best way to handle what could be a possible backlash in the removal of subsidy? Bola Tinubu has said he will remove subsidy. Muhammadu Buhari has applied for an $800 million loan at the World Bank. This seems to be a lot to chew, isn't it?
Well, I really don't understand this whole story about removing subsidy or not, unless somebody wants to make a fuse out of it. You know, the reports available to us show that the federal government has gone far in the Port Harcourt and Warri refineries, you know, to repair them, you know, and that they have invested 20%, and they are to give this Dangote refinery about 300 barrels, you know, 300,000 barrels, you know, daily. And then if this is what is on ground, how much do we need, you know, here? How much do we need? Two, the federal government, when they tried to engage us about 2 years ago, we looked at some other options, clear options, you know, that has to do with the CNG, you know, the natural gas, you know, eco-friendly and cheaper. You know, and then they said they started in a Bini area, and they have converted over 10,000 vehicles and all that. And on that basis, the CBN was said to have given a grant of over 250 billion for the conversion. And, you know, petroleum station owners, you know, independent owners, you know, now said they have surrendered their petrol stations for conversion to CNG. And this could be concluded within 3 months. And that the gas deposit in this country could last for the next 500 years. And it is cheaper. You know, so one starts to wonder if the CNG is cheaper, and then government has started making provisions for conversion of vehicles and filling stations. Now, why are we still talking of subsidy or no subsidy? Who says they need subsidy? Who said there's need for subsidy?
So you see, you see that what you're feeling, and as a president, is that there's probably some underhand dealings that Nigerians do not know about. Is that what you're inferring?
Well, I don't know what they're talking about. If it could take 1 month or 2 months or 3 months for us to convert to CNG, then there's alternative. So if there's alternative, if you convert to CNG, why are we talking of a subsidy? Who will be importing when there's alternative on ground here? Why can't we think outside the box? Why can't we look at the alternatives that are available to us, including the repair of the main refineries, including what is supposed to be produced by the Dangote refineries? And people are singing, you know, about subsidy. It's no longer an issue. Let them take these options, you know, and the issue of taking loan for this subsidy is not with our support. Nobody can say he's taking loan because of subsidy when there are options, when there are better options, you know, available to us. Why don't we think about those options? Unless there's something that we don't know about this.
All right. Let me take you to Labour Party matter, Mr. Jairo. Who is the authentic national chairman of Labour Party?
Well, Julius Abure remains the national chairman of the Labour Party.
What do you
Nobody,
yeah. Go ahead,
nobody has conducted any convention. There's no meeting, no NEC meeting called, which NLC as trustees have attended, where any officer has been removed. None. Now, even NLC as at today is working in line with the consent judgment and the MOU we got with the Labour Party, and it will expire by around 27th of June for the convocation of a convention to have our leaders. So any distraction for people to overstay in office or to perpetrate themselves in office is not acceptable to us. That is where we are, and that's the position as at today. You know, you can't just wake up and say you have removed leaders. It's not acceptable to us. We should know. It doesn't mean that leaders cannot be removed. Leaders can be removed any moment.
So what about Callistus Okafor? What about Lamidi Apapa? You probably have an insider view on this matter. What exactly is going on?
Those are creations of the media. The media should stop, you know, creating crisis for us. You know, Lamidi Apapa, you know, was a deputy. Now, even if, assuming the court removes Abure as chairman, now what happens conventionally is for a next meeting of the Labour Party to meet, where they will choose who will stay in acting capacity until a substantive chairman is appointed. Nobody goes to a Labour office and break the windows and doors and declare himself winner. That doesn't happen in any organization. No organization is organized by that way. It's unacceptable. The person can't even present himself to us as our leader. Is that how other organizations behave?
Mr. Jairo, what would you advise as a way forward? I mean, this is a party that courted a lot of huge followings of many Nigerians, a lot of them who have now been described as obedient. And that movement got as much as it could get in the election that we saw. I mean, and if it's been bedeviled by all of these kind of crises, it doesn't all go well, is it? What would you advise that the party do at this point in time? A political, an elective solution, or what?
There is no crisis so far, but I think some individuals, you know, have their own interests which they want to promote. However, like I've mentioned to you, we should be working towards our convention any moment from now. And we are going to come up with the convention guideline for election of party chairmen, party secretaries, you know, across the states, across the world, nationally. That is where we are moving to. And they know it. They know our MOU, the MOU of the Labour Party and the NLC. The out-of-court consent, which INEC witnessed, that by 27th of June, you know, we should embark on that process. Lamidi Apapa knows it. Abure knows it. And they know all these things. So we are moving into that. And that's the only way we can get, you know, our house.
Are you able to speak with, since it does look like you align with Mr. Abure, have you been able to speak with Mr. Apapa?
As what?
Well, I mean, he's a contender. He's been contending that he's the right leader.
Then all the deputy party chairmen will be contenders. Which organization happens that way? Do we have organizations without rules?
So if the NLC and TUC are trustees, isn't there anything that these trustees can do to summarily or temporarily?
The NLC produced one of the deputies. The TUC produced one of the deputies, and they are still intact with Abure. Now, if you are talking of Lamidi, you know, of Apapa grew up as a member of Nupeng, tanker driver, as a member of the NLC, you know, or your state council. And then if you got up and say he will not obey the NLC and he will not obey the Labour Party, you know, you allow him to be on his own. So why are we
as of today, Mr. Ajaero, you have disowned Apapa and you have somewhat upheld Abure's leadership. Is that what has happened tonight?
Abure has not been removed by any neck of the NLC or of the Labour Party or CWC. That's a clear fact. You know, if the court has even removed Abure, assuming it is true, it is the party that will come and determine who should be their acting chairman. Apapa can impose himself on us for goodness sake. And it doesn't happen.
All right.
You know, so That's the situation as of today.
Mr. Joe
Nobody will say, I am the chairman. Abure couldn't have done it, when he emerged. Apapa, all of them were there when they nominated him to be chairman. And he's chairman until he is removed. But I'm saying that in the event of even death or removal by court, the organization meets to say this is the acting pending a substantive replacement.
Mr. Joe Ajaero, the Nigerian Labour Congress president, thank you so much, comrade, for talking to us tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
Appreciate it. We'll take a break, everyone, but when we come back, we've got some very strong insight on the state of the Nigerian economy under Buhari administration in the last 8 years. Well, the Buhari government will boast that they've done a lot of infrastructure projects, but at what expense? Is it profitable? Is it beneficial to Nigerians? We'll be getting insight. The Dangote refinery is more of a plus or a negative. A lot of people believe that it's a huge success as far as the interplay of Nigeria refining oil, whether it's taking it out of the country or bringing it back, whichever the case may be. We'll be looking at the pros and the cons of that too tonight. Stick around with me. We're looking at all of this and anticipating the Bola Tinubu presidency and what lies ahead, the burden on that man. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
The Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS, Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman, cordially invites all stakeholders and the general public to the official commissioning of the Legislative Center for Security Analysis and NILS Democracy Radio 104.9 FM by the President of the Senate and Chairman, NILS Governing Council, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, PhD, GCON, and Speaker, House of Representatives and alternate Chairman, NILS Governing Council, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, CFR. Date Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. Venue number 4, Linda Choka Crescent, Asokoro Extension, Abuja. Time 3 p.m. prompt. Host Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman, Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS. Announcer Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS, Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman, cordially invites stakeholders to the official commissioning of NILS state-of-the-art permanent site, 1,000-seater ultra-modern convention center with advanced technology and luxurious amenities by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Special guest of honor, President of the Senate and Chairman, NILS Governing Council, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, PhD, GCON, and Speaker, House of Representatives and alternate Chairman, NILS Governing Council, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, CFR. Date Thursday, May 25th, 2023. Venue, Plot 307, Cadastral Zone, Shehu Musa Adua Express Road, along Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Road, Abuja. Time, 3 p.m. prompt. Kindly note that guests are to be seated by 2:30 p.m. prompt, and attendance is strictly by invitation. Host, Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman, Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS. Announcer.
The Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Access Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
Madam, the outside, she don't come.
Are they activities comes with different challenges. In a bid to accomplish your daily task, malaria has a way of getting you into distress. P-Alaxin anti-malaria keeps you capable and ensures you deliver against all odds.
Madam,
I feel your face don't calm down. You feel like say malaria no work.
Malaria don't run. Turn to P-Alaxin anti-malaria medicine.
I tell you. Madam, thank you.
P-Alaxin, marketed by Greenlight Pharmaceuticals Limited. P-Alaxin defeats malaria.
My people, you know, say election don't finish now. You don't elect president, elect governor, National Assembly members, State of Assembly members. But matter see the tribunal. Well, we have to move forward. First of all, the person where you send go office, it be like say you send a message. Suppose they check upon him, suppose they call him. You suppose they ask him the money where I put for your hand. How you take the manager? Employment, opportunities where you promise me for manifesto. You go do them, I be you no do them. Now here, budget is gonna make it simple for you. If you track government budget, how government takes spend money for your area from budget.org. You even fit track public projects, all the roads, the schools, the hospitals for your area, tracker.ng. You even fit on allocation for your state, for your local government, me.budget.org. Now, the matter in your hand. The person where you send go office, you supposed to make sure say they work for you. This message now from Budget.
The Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS, Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman, cordially invites all stakeholders and the general public to the official commissioning of the Legislative Center for Security Analysis and NILS Democracy Radio 104.9 FM by the President of the Senate and Chairman, NILS Governing Council, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, PhD, GCON, and Speaker, House of Representatives and alternate Chairman, NILS Governing Council, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, CFR. Date Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. Venue number 4, Linda Choka Crescent, Asokoro Extension, Abuja. Time 3 p.m. prompt. Host Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman, Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS. Announcer Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS. Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman cordially invites stakeholders to the official commissioning of NILS state-of-the-art permanent site, 1,000-seater ultra-modern convention center with advanced technology and luxurious amenities by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Special guest of honor, President of the Senate and Chairman, NILS Governing Council, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, PhD, GCON, and Speaker, House of Representatives and alternate Chairman, NILS Governing Council, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, CFR. Date Thursday, May 25th, 2023. Venue, Plot 307, Cadastral Zone, Shehu Musa Adua Express Road, along Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Road, Abuja. Time, 3 p.m. prompt. Kindly note that guests are to be seated by 2:30 p.m. prompt, and attendance is strictly by invitation. Host, Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman, Director General, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS. Announcer.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. So President Buhari today commissioned the second Niger Bridge in the southeast region of the country, 6 days to the end of his administration. It's one of the major highlights a lot of Nigerians are waiting for and looking forward to. It's also one of the boasts that this government will have. The president also commissioned 7 legacy projects completed by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing across the country. The second Niger Bridge was conceptualized in 2015. In 2014, there was an attempt to begin the project through the Public-Private Partnership, a PPP program, but this was not successful. The construction began in 2016 with the Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund, also commissioned today were the local Oweto Bridge across River Benue to link Benue to Nasarawa State and the Ikom Bridge in Cross River State. The road project is completed a second section of the over 200 kilometers of the Kano-Kaduna Dual Carriage Expressway and 3 new federal secretariats. So, in all of these, the second Niger Bridge is to officially now to be called and known as the Buhari Second Niger Bridge. Let me allow you to listen to one of the governors of the Southeast who spoke on the sidelines of that event.
Every nation must have a hero. If you remember France, you remember Charles de Gaulle. And critical infrastructures are named after heroes. If you remember Turkey, you remember Ataturk. If you remember Singapore, if you call Singapore, you remember Lee Kuan Yew. And so many other great nations. Nigeria today, with the naming of the second bridge, Niger Bridge, after President Mohamed Buhari, he is a hero for me, and indeed, the people of Southeast.
So in that commissioning, President Buhari was in Abuja. This was done virtually from their own end, and the Minister of Works, Babatunde Fashola, also were in Abuja. Let me allow you to listen to what is said.
I'm not oblivious of the concerns and debates about our stock of public debt. Those concerns are legitimate and in many instances well-meaning. Many of the debts are tied to projects and are transparent and verifiable. What I have not heard enough of is the truth about the wealth and prosperity of many nations, especially post-war Europe. That wealth was built largely on infrastructure and on debt redeemed over decades. Some of the projects are commercially self-liquidating. Without investing in infrastructure, the road out of poverty is much tougher. So, as we look at the debt profile, I urge us to also look at the assets and investment profiles, some of which was paid for by debt and some by investment income. In 8 years, I am proud to say that we have doubled Nigeria's stock of infrastructure to GDP from about 20% to over 40%, and that is no small undertaking.
We have delivered the second Niger Bridge. We have delivered 200 kilometers out of 365 kilometers of the Kano-Abuja highway, and we have delivered 114 kilometers of the 127 kilometers Lagos-Ibadan highway. Mr. President, please permit me to pause here by those who may wonder why the Lagos-Ibadan highway is not being commissioned also today.
All right, that's Mr. Fashola, the Minister for Works, and President Buhari there. Let's get some insight. There's something else that happened yesterday, which is the Dangote refinery that was commissioned by President Buhari. We understand that the very first products will come out of the refinery anytime from the end of July to towards August. Let's get some insight. Now, I'm being joined by a very outspoken economist. He's a senior economist at the SPM Professionals. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Alaje, for joining us tonight.
Thank you so very much for having me.
These projects, should we be very excited about them, considering the fact that the president recognized that there are loads and loads of loans that, tied to these projects? But good, it's good to see good roads. But yeah. At what expense?
Well, for me, before I talk about the expense, I must talk about the road first. When you talk about the economy, what makes the economy grow is the acceleration of goods and human. How easy is we are able to exchange commodities is able to move from one point to another. If you like, how we're able to turn around things. With quality road, you can complete a task as soon as possible compared to when the roads are really bad. And what you've seen with Lagos-Ibadan, which I've used a number of times, second Niger Bridge is being commissioned, and a number of other projects that President Buhari has done. Even though there may be other challenges with the administration, I can tell you that in terms of infrastructure, the administration has tried it beat. And I would not only want to talk about road. You know, I tell people that this administration have 2 star boys. In my own, you know, the way I put them. Yeah. Yes, so 2 star boys. Raji Fashola, the former governor of Lagos State, you cannot fault him. He has really done his best. The next person to him, which I call his twin brother, is Rotimi Amici. When it comes to rail project, Nigeria never had Lagos, Ibadan, narrow gauge, standard gauge. It was started and completed under Buhari. We also have Warri Itakpe, started and completed under Buhari. So for me, when it comes to some infrastructural project, I want to say President Buhari has tried his bit. I may have concerns with macroeconomic variables like inflation, unemployment, poverty, and all of those. So as much as I criticize the administration in those regards, I must also recognize area of infrastructure. For God's sake, I will be happy when I'm able to travel from Asaba to Onitsha on Second Niger Bridge. I've been to Asaba a number of times. I've been to Onitsha a number of times using the same old bridge. We are not there to shoot Nollywood and see how old the bridge is. We are something that is more modern that I believe will also accelerate traffic. And when you look at transaction in that region, you know that they are predominantly traders who mean business, and cash flow really matters to them. So for me, I'm particularly interested in what the kind of investment and the spread all around the country, especially what has happened in the
There are a lot of people who will say, military era, it's an era that no one wants, any Democrat would never want to imagine, or don't want, is forced on us. But that the effort the military are done in terms of infrastructure, and in fact, a lot of people will attribute a major infrastructure in Nigeria to the military days. Is it Abuja? And
even Lagos.
Even Lagos, the Third Mainland Bridge, and a major national project were being initiated by the military. And the Buhari government will say, after the military, it's a Buhari government in terms of infrastructure. But the question is, Mr. Alaji, Nigeria is highly indebted.
Yes, the debts, the debit check, as I call it, the president-elect Bola Tinubu will be receiving from President Buhari will be between 65 to 77 trillion naira debt, even though what the Bureau of the Debt Management Office has published today is less than 50 trillion naira. That is because the restructure or rearrangement of ways and means have not probably been captured. But I'm very convinced that in the next quarter report, which will be coming for the end of June, you will see that report and you see a major surge in what we are owing. So what that means is, yes, Nigeria is owing so much money. You see, my concern as an economist is more with ability to service. You know, when you look at debt service to revenue, that is where we have challenge. And that is where I think the president-elect should start looking at how to use technology to make more revenue, not by taxing more people.
But this government said we have a revenue problem.
Because this government don't know where the revenues are. That's the real challenge.
Are they blind to it, or they don't just want to know?
I would say because they need technology, and the technology is not readily available to governments to generate revenue. If you have
how much revenue does the Nigerian economy have potential of?
Well, beyond what is in the budget, at least we have additional 30 trillion naira that we are not making as a people.
And, do you think that Bola Tinubu and his team are aware of this?
I'm not sure, but I want to believe that President-elect Bola Tinubu would find means. Because, you see, you cannot keep going to the debt market. We are not looking as attractive. You know, when you see a girl of 18 and the girl is 30 and the girl is 40 and she's 45, but she still has all the makeup, hey, you are no longer in the market. Because when you look at our debt component, the commercial loan is over 40%. And you see the bilateral and multilateral loan, even if you go and renegotiate with them, the question is, if you don't feed yourself, you are still dependent.
Would you be saying to Tinubu, do not borrow?
I'll be telling Tinubu that before you borrow, make sure that you double your revenue. And to double the revenue from possible revenue windows, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, there are sectors that are growing single, when I say single, not less than 6%, 7, 8%, and in some cases, double digits, that are paying less and less to federal government. Have we, in CIT, and they're not even other taxes that government collected that government is not collecting. So have we checked? Have we discussed have we looked at those revenue window that is possible for the Nigerian government beyond asking small businesses to pay more and charging more from businesses that are already struggling? And I'm happy that at least we have laws that say you should exempt some businesses. But there are businesses that are returning in trillions. I give you an instance. There is a business in Nigeria, in a particular sector, I won't mention name, that they make so much money. Rather than registering and listing the business in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, it was registered in American Stock Exchange. But the core business the core revenue of such business is coming from Nigeria. The question is, who is benefiting?
At whose expense? And
at whose expense? So it's important for us to look at how do we make use of technology. Because where the revenues are is with the guys with technology.
Now, one thing that is paramount here is the interest of the average Nigerian. So Bola Tinubu need to be able to impress Nigerians, because they were the ones who employed him, and they will be paying his wages as soon as he gets into office on Monday. He needs to be accountable to them. But the question is that what would you say is going to be paramount for someone who wants to be serious in handling the economy, that almost every aspect of the indices are in the negative?
Well, I agree with you, but you see, this has been done time and again. We have seen countries that were submerged by war. I give you 1945, there was the Second World War ended. People that died post-war were more than people that died during the war. But when Europe was going to come out of poverty, penury, and deprivation, just within 20 years, by 1965 and at most 1970, the rest of the world were wondering, what did Europe do to come out of the impact of war? Nigeria, perhaps in the last 20 years or 30 years, we cannot say that we have had a war, even though we know that we once had a civil war that has since ended. Here is it: power supply. And when I say power supply, I mean electricity must be available. President Buhari signed agreement, his administration signed agreement with Siemens, and they said some of the equipment that were signed, they're in Nigeria. But have we been able to significantly improve what we are generating and distributing to government? No. So that could be a foundation for the coming administration. At least we have equipment. But we will now use that to boost what we consume, because great countries must consume significant amount of power supply. Nigeria, we are doing between 3,000 to 4,000. That's what we are available to us to consume. I'm not talking about what we are generating. The number must increase to minimum of 20,000, and at most about 50,000 megawatts. That is what must be available at home, especially for manufacturers.
If the hope can be renewed, we need to renew our strategies too, as a people. So now, let me take your view on the Dangote refinery. I mean, applause, kudos to Mr. Dangote, Aliko Dangote, and his team for coming up with the idea. And in fact, it's interesting that the CBN said almost 70% of the loan facility given for that project is being paid back. Good news also is the fact that by end of July or August, we might be seeing some first set of products coming out of that. Petrochemicals, oil and gas coming out of that facility. Good news. But how good is it for the average Nigerian when you consider that subsidy is going to be removed at some point?
Well, you may not necessarily need to remove subsidy, and Dangote will still make profits. I don't know if I have time to explain that, but it's important for us to know that Dangote refinery is a game changer. First, what is going to save us, or what he will start saving us from August in terms of FX, is at least $23–25 billion. That is why each time you see that central bank says that foreign reserve is getting depleted, we wonder, oh, central bank, I thought we are still selling crude. Yes, because what you sell, you use one hand to sell. On the other hand, you are using it to import PMS and all other products. But those will now be available in Nigeria. Unemployment figure is not interesting at all. The last figure published by the Bureau of Statistics is 33.1%, and it's projected by KPMG to grow to 40%. But with Dangote bringing refinery, there are others, small industry, cottage industry that will grow around that, and you are going to see reduction also in unemployment. That said, it's also going to help to improve our current accounts in international trade, and we may see some level of improvement on our trade. Some other organization abroad may come, because as we speak, over 80% of our foreign direct, of our investment, foreign investment has really reduced. Not my figure according to the National Bureau of Statistics, when you compare that over 6 years. But what you see is that portfolio investment is reducing, foreign direct investment is reducing, other investment is reducing. But with this, you see, you cannot sit on that chair. And people watching us, they cannot watch us effectively if they have no energy. Dangote refinery is the foundation of energy, at least for West Africa. So for Nigeria, you can't have an economy without energy. When you ask me what I think the president-elect should do, I mentioned power. Another thing after power, power is a form of energy to power industries, to power homes, and so on and so forth. So for this, we are having a form of energy, which I think we should applaud. But there are concerns, with this. One of the major concerns is to leave that sector in the hand of a monopoly. It's going to be a bit dangerous. I
thought the Kaduna and Port Harcourt refinery could come on stream and spend billions of naira on that too, to bring it back to life. Well, we need to see them functional. When we see them functional, then we know that the supply side is further stimulated. But that does not discredit the commissioning of Dangote refinery. We must emphasize that. But we are saying, as a people, it's important for us to give out the refineries we had. If PPP will not be interesting to us, give it. Dangote refinery, government has only 20%. You can do the same with the 4 refineries. Private sector individuals understand that if they don't have output, there is no way they can make profit. And profit is their goal, therefore production must be done. So I'm hopeful that the incoming administration will right the wrong of what happened with the 4 refineries, rather than turning it around like Baba's chair. At least for the first time, we can also have output to join what Dangote is doing. Because if there is a maintenance issue around Dangote refinery, what does it mean? Are we going to go back importing? That is why all other 4, those 4 refineries must be given to private sector to complement what Dangote is doing. And what it means is that when supply increases and demand remains constant, price, which is a function where subsidy is concerned now, will be reducing over and over again. Paul Alaje, thank you so much. As we are looking at what Buhari will be leaving for Bola Tinubu, and in fact, as he's getting a note that is full of negatives, he might also be getting some notes that are full of positive. At least Dangote refinery is one of them. The second Niger bridge is one of them. The Oweto bridge is one of them. And the almost 6 or 5 railway lines that Buhari government has initiated will also be some of the good notes that Bola Tinubu will be having. It's a lot of burden. Nigerians are watching and they want him to perform. Well, we're watching what is happening in the court too, in the Presidential Election Tribunal. All of these are very interesting in the coming days. Thank you so much, Paul Alaje. Appreciate it. That's our show for tonight, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. God bless Nigeria.